I'm going to start working on the Kubota, try to get this hydraulic problem fixed. If you saw my previous video about working in the backyard, I think I blew a hydraulic line. I don't know if it's got a hole in it or if it's split. Something's going on. It's spraying fluid. It looks like smoke. I've never worked on hydraulics before, so that should be interesting. I'm hoping I can just take this hose off, go buy another one, put it back on. Anyway, this video may take place over several days, but we'll see. You can check out how muddy it is back here. See how the tire, all I did was drive this thing right here, and the tire, it just sunk down in the mud. So I thought I was going to work on this in my driveway, but I just would rather be back here. If I have to work on this in the dark, the light's going to be better back here. First, we're going to take this cover off. I need to take a couple of these rubber flaps off here so I can actually see down in there, see what I'm doing. It's hard to show it on this video, but if I move this rubber piece, it's dry, very dusty and dry in there. You can see it's a little wet here, but it's very wet all up under the fender. So the problem is definitely not up under here, although I've got to get in there in order to get that hydraulic line taken off. So that's going to be a problem. It's not one of these easier ones to get to. I think it actually comes under the fender, crosses over, and hooks somewhere underneath. So I'm either going to have to take this whole fender off here to get to it, or I'm going to crawl under here and take a look and see what I can see. I mean, it's not even tall enough to fit my head under there, really. So let me take a look at it and see what we got going on. Now, I tried to look under it. I can't even get my head under there to really see what I'm doing, so I don't want to go through the trouble of jacking it up and then that not even work, me not be able to get to it, and I don't want to lay in the mud to work on this thing. I think I'm going to try to take this fender off. There are so many controls here. Back here for the PTO, you've got the gear selector for driving, and the ignition and just everything. So I'm hoping that it looks like this is bolted under the seat over here, and even the controls up front there for the bucket. I'm hoping basically that a lot of stuff is not bolted to this. Hoping I can just lay this instrument cluster over onto the seat. Taking the fender off was not as hard as I thought it would be. Right there, that's where that fender was going across it. So right there, the hydraulic hose is cut. Welcome to day 2. It's about 6:30 at night. As you can see, it's very dark out here. We're going to try to get this hydraulic line taken off. I just got home from work. I like the summertime a lot better. In the summertime, it doesn't get dark till 9 or 9:30. I would still have 3 hours of light left. I think the first thing I need to do is try to relieve the pressure on the hydraulics. It's been sitting here since yesterday, so maybe there's not a lot of pressure built up since I haven't been using it. I don't know. From what I've seen, the way you relieve some pressure is just playing with the hydraulic controls. Okay, let's start taking this hydraulic hose off. It looks like I can't get to this hydraulic line because of this plate. I don't know what this is, maybe some kind of skid plate or something across here, so I'm going to have to try to take this off first. Well, we're going to try this again. We got us a little catch pan here. The idea was I don't have a cap to put on this when I take the line off, so I was going to put a glove on there and put some zip ties or some electrical tape. Of course, I can't find my zip ties. So we're going to try some electrical tape. Hopefully we're just going to be able to do it. So let's give it a shot. Take this back off. It's hard to do this once you start getting that hydraulic oil all over you. It's just, my hands are so slippery. And this tape is not even sticking to anything. This is a complete fail. I'll definitely buy a few caps for these. I imagine as I own this, I'll need to be replacing lines sometime, so I'm going to get some caps for the future. I'll just leave this here. So worst case scenario, I guess this will come apart and leak out. Cost me a fortune in hydraulic fluid to fill it back up probably, but hey, this tape isn't even sticking. Well, that is a ridiculous mess, but if it keeps this from dripping out, I'll take it. Alright, so you can see right here what I did. I just got the hydraulic line kind of propped up there for now. I got to get into there and take the other side off. And you can see that's where I took it off down there. I mean, you've got all this fluid just running out of there. You know, I think if you're disconnecting something up top somewhere, you don't have that problem with fluid pouring out. But obviously, this being down here, all this fluid is just draining out of it. The other side of this hydraulic hose is up under there. You probably can't see it. I'm holding a light and the camera. There is a line in there with some orange tape on it, and that's what I've got to get to. Well, I cannot get a wrench in there. I think what I need to do is take this plate off right here under the seat. Day 3, still working on this thing. I've got some help with me today. All I have left is, okay, let me turn this camera around. Alright, so last night it got too late. I got frustrated. All I've got left is this little knob right here. I got to pop that off, take this plate off, and then I can get to this hydraulic hose and I'll be ready to go get a replacement. I got on Facebook last night. There's a Kubota group. They were very helpful. They gave us some things to try, so that's what we're going to do to try to get this knob off. Alright, we're trying to get to this knob, so I think he just had a great idea to spin this thing around, flip it up out of the way,
as soon as I can figure out how I'm going to pry on it, then I'm going to heat it up.
Now, people have suggested to heat it up and then pry it off.
Yeah, there we go. It just
it's come, well,
no, it came off a good bit. You got a pair of pliers. Oops. It does have a roll pin in it, but it doesn't go all the way through the handle.
Alright, so if anybody's wondering, the key to getting this off is to break the handle. And then it comes right off.
So it does have a roll pin going through it. It just doesn't go all the way through it. So I guess it's just to keep it, it helps the handle turn the shaft. So when you spin it. But anyways, I'll make a new handle for it. And what we'll do is just take that hole and just drive a pin through the handle, through the shaft. Look, that's hollow too. I thought that was solid.
I looked last night underneath the seat to see if I could disconnect it under there and just pull the whole thing out, but it would be funny if I went through all this trouble and I still couldn't reach the hydraulic line, but it's actually right there. This lighting is awesome. It's right there. So let me go find a wrench for it. I don't want to have to go dig out the wrench. Well, that was easy. So we just got the adjustable wrench on it.
I wonder how much fluid is in there.
Well, I got a roll of paper towels. I don't have any shop rags. It's on the top though. I wouldn't think it would be. And that hose drained out when I took the other side of it off, so.
The Midnight Mechanic.
Yeah, it's not leaking at all. Alright, there we go. Now we got to go take it somewhere tomorrow and get a replacement for it. Let me see where that thing is cut. I thought it had a big gash in it. Yeah. There it is because of that. It was rubbing on that fender. Okay. And we're just putting gloves on the end, going to tape it up so when he puts it in the truck to go get another hose, it doesn't leak out. It's hard to film this, but he's also putting a glove with some electrical tape where the hose came off just to keep bugs or dirt or whatever. We don't want things getting in there. Alright, there we go. See, I just put the glove on there, wrapped some electrical tape around it because I don't have a cap. So that'll keep the critters and keep the dirt out of the hydraulic system while we get a new hose. Day 4, we're back working again. It's Friday night. It's about 7:15 at night. We finally got the new hydraulic hose. Unfortunately, we had to go to Kubota to get it, and they charged me $76. Ridiculous. We tried to go to a couple of other places, Napa, Tractor Supply. You know, you got to buy all kind of random fittings because they don't do these pressed on, crimped on fittings. I'm sure some of y'all understand when you work a day job and you want to come home at night and you're going to work on some equipment or you're going to work on your car. It's one thing, you're already working in the dark, but then if you need parts, especially hydraulic parts or harder things to get that you can't just run down to the auto parts store, well, those places are not open late. Usually they're closed at 5 or 6. So we spent a couple of days trying to get the hose. It was a good bit of trouble to replace this line, and I want to give it some extra protection when I put it back on there. So hopefully it won't split or get cut anytime soon. I looked around. I'm trying to not spend a whole lot of money. You know I already paid too much for the hose itself. What I've come up with is this foam pipe insulation. Now I thought about a lot of different things like getting a piece of radiator hose and putting it on here. I also thought about exhaust wrap. They make I think it's nylon. It's kind of like this original protector thing that was on there. It's like a nylon wrap that you put on exhaust pipes. All that stuff's pretty expensive. I mean, this foam insulation for water lines, it was like $3. And I got 6 feet of it, so we're going to try it. I'm going to cut off about 1 foot. Now, I am going to put this dirty cover. I hate to do it. My new line is so clean and pretty, but we're going to put this cover back on there, the one that we took off. You know, it's got a cut on it right there. So I'll actually just flip it around the other way. So a different part will be resting up against the fender. And then on top of this, I'm going to have about 1 foot piece of this foam. Now this, nobody's going to see this anyway. And honestly, if I'm riding around and I hear this squeaking or whatever, I may end up taking it off. But we're going to try to protect our investment a little bit. And we'll just see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this on first, and then I'll put the pipe insulation on it. Okay, you can see the blue glove that I've got taped on there. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I've got to remove that. That was really tough. I just fought with that hose for probably 15 minutes. The way the hose came off the reel, it has a natural curve to it. I needed it to curve the other way because of the way the 90 has to fit onto the pump or the tank, whatever that is. It's about 40 degrees out here, so it's pretty cold. So the hose was just stiff. I am exhausted fighting that hose. It was a lot of work. Well, clearly I'm exhausted. I'm gonna finish hooking up this hose to the other side here to the front end loader. I'm gonna call it a night. I'll be out here early in the morning when it's daylight, finish this up, but I just made a huge mistake. I mean, I'm gonna leave it the way it is. It'll be fine, but okay, let me show you what I just did. There's my new hose. It's ready to be hooked up down here to the front end loader. Look right there. That cut is right where I didn't want it to be. I said earlier I was going to put this nylon cover on the other, like I was going to flip it around so the cut would be down here somewhere, so this fender would have extra protection. I took extra time to put this cover on and I still did it wrong. Somehow I've got the slit right where it is. I'm going to put some extra pipe insulation on here. I'm leaving it. I just fought with this thing for 15 minutes to get it hooked up under the seat. I'm not taking it back off again. And we're going to take this off. It's been leaking the last couple of days, so this temporary cap has not worked very well. Somebody's probably going to say, you're using that wrench the wrong way. I don't really care. I'm cold, I'm tired, been working all day. I just want to get this thing put back together. And sometimes, depending on what you're working on and how you're trying to get in there, you have to use a wrench backwards. Day 5 and the work continues. Still working on the Kubota. I finally got some daylight that I can work in. So the other night I got the hydraulic line hooked up. Today the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it on, let it run for a little bit. I want to check it for leaks. Before I go through all the trouble to put the fender and everything back on, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mostly be checking for leaks. Alright, so far so good. It doesn't appear to be leaking, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and put everything back together, and then I'll check the level because I can add fluid to it after everything is put back together. I'm glad I took one last look at this thing because I actually forgot one thing. My extra piece of insulation. I've been working on this thing late at night after getting home from work, after long days at work. It's been dark, it's been cold. It's about 45 degrees out here right now, which is very cold for me because I'm a southern boy. Anyway, let's put this on the hydraulic hose for a little extra protection before we start putting the thing back together. I'm just going to take my razor knife, I don't know, maybe about a foot. The part of the hose that gets cut is very short, so the only reason I'm making it this long, because I'm going to put a couple of cable ties on here. Hopefully that'll hold it in place and keep it from sliding around. So that's why I made this thing a little bit longer than it really needs to be. Just give me some room. I might put 2 or 3 cable ties on each end to squeeze it on there. Well, that's going to be another fail for me, and I'm actually getting pretty good at doing that. This insulation is for 1/2-inch pipe, which is perfect for the hydraulic line by itself. I put the original nylon cover back on the hydraulic hose, kind of like this protector here, but it just goes on that one. Well, when I put that cover over the hose, now the insulation I bought is not big enough. It would fit over just the hydraulic hose itself, but not the hose with the nylon cover. Is that making any sense? Anyway, what I'm going to have to do is just, I'm going to put it on like that for now. It's basically, it's on there, but it's not wrapped all the way around. I'm going to zip tie it on there. I'm going to put everything back together. And at some point when I'm at Lowe's or Home Depot, I'll get another piece of foam insulation, a bigger piece, and we'll redo it. I think what I can do is just slide it back on there without actually having to take the whole fender off. So that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, you can see I've got the zip ties on there. I was actually going to put a couple underneath, but I'm not going to do that because at some point I'm going to snip these off, slide the insulation off, and I'm going to put a bigger piece on there so it wraps all the way around. For now, I think this is good. I mean, it's going to give a little extra protection against the fender. I'll make a video in the future when I actually replace that. So you probably saw earlier that we broke the handle underneath the seat. My brother had this handle laying around, so he ran a bolt through it, put this little pin through here. You see there's the, it's just a bolt. Drilled a hole in the bolt, drilled a hole in this thing. Good deal. But really this thing is pretty cool. I mean, it works great. It was just made from stuff we had laying around. And honestly, Kubota, this is a better design. Look how easy this is. You pop the pin out, you pull the handle off, you're ready to go. Why do these engineers make things so difficult? Tractors, cars, trucks, whatever you're working on, why do they make them so difficult to work on? If you made it this far in my video, thank you for watching. The last thing I have to do is check the hydraulic fluid, but I'm not going to do that on this video. Maybe I'll make another video. If you... You're not going to be able to be in my video. Get over here and be quiet. This is not going to work. You see how professional my videos are.